it's a understatement to say we love you, because we really do. And before I get started, I want to also, Ms. Burnett alluded to the Owensboro Board of Education. We have one of our board members here with us, Ms. Nancy Eskridge, who was chair for many years. Well, your last day of your last year of formal schooling is upon you. And saying these words probably conjures up a complicated mixture of emotions for many of you. Relax for a minute and think about the beginning. Think about your first day of kindergarten. You remember that. Think about the road you traveled. Think about the hard work, the fun times, the friends, the teachers, the support of your family. Take a moment over these next few weeks and give thanks to all of those people. I was a teacher, as Ms. Burnett introduced, and I still have a box full of letters and notes from my students. It doesn't matter whether they were high school students or graduate students. Those notes mean a lot. Saying thank you to those people means a lot, especially to your parents and to your family, and to those special folks in your life that helped you get here. So, on the first day of school this year, I was in a kindergarten class. It's appropriate. I'll probably come over here and be with you on your last day. But I was in a kindergarten class at Craven. We have Craven people out here. Let your voice be heard. Craven, good work. I was visiting this kindergarten class on the first day of school, and it was right after lunch. And one of the students came in and immediately grabbed his backpack after leaving the cafeteria and asked the teacher, "Where do we line up for the bus?" And this young man, who obviously had preschool experience of leaving right after lunch every day, was ready to go home. The teacher looked at him and, in a very sweet kindergarten teacher voice, said, "Oh, you're in kindergarten now. You get to stay all day long." The kid looked up at me. He didn't know who I was, but I was dressed like this, so he thought this guy's probably kind of important. Why else would he be in my kindergarten class? So he looked up at me and he said, "All day?" He said, "Who the hell signed me up for this?" Now, I was like you. I had to sort of hold it together because, what do I do? Send him to the principal because he said a bad word or feel bad for him? But I actually couldn't help but thinking of you all, the class of 2014, as you began this year. And I thought about his journey ahead and how we as a school system have to work hard to get him to the point where you are now, and that's graduation. People will tell you over the coming days and weeks that this is the best time of your lives. High school is the best of times. And I'm sure that some of you may feel a little bit like the kindergarten kid. And I hope you have had a great experience here in the Owensboro school system, those of you that have been with us from elementary through and at OHS. I hope it's been memorable. I hope it's been fun, worthwhile. But don't let the adult nostalgia about high school delude you into thinking that these are the only good times and it's all downhill from this point. High school is a beginning of the fun and the toils and the troubles of your life, but many great days are still ahead. This is really a beginning. Now you get to own your life. You get to live according to your own hopes and dreams and write your own script and play the leading role. The best is yet to come, I promise. Now, it's a bit daunting. I really know you guys are here because of these yellow sheets and because of the slideshow and the letters from Miss Luckett. Trying to figure out what to tell you and give you advice. You're going to hear a laundry list of things from people. So what I want to do is I just want to share a very quick story. It's a true story. When I was in college, I spent a couple of summers working in a factory. Now, I am a big believer in that all work is noble, and that there are great opportunities and great jobs out there for everybody. You have to find the right career path and fit. I made good money in this job. I learned a lot about myself, the world of work, and the people that I worked alongside every day. It was a glass factory, so there was a mixture of really hard manual labor jobs, which I did, and some pretty skilled people that worked in that position, those positions as well. I worked alongside a guy named James. He was in his late 30s. He worked after dropping out of high school there. He had been there for many years. He had a good career. Our supervisor was a guy named Pete. Pete was a Class A jerk. And he always called me college boy or mostly just boy. And he was much less kind than James. James was an African American. And I won't go into the details of their relationship. I think you can figure it out. But I was fortunate to grow up and live in an environment where I never met this kind of person that actually had these kind of feelings of hate. And it was in that summer job that I learned to stand up and how important it is to stand up for people and how important it is to connect with people, no matter who they are. I'm so proud of your generation. Your generation is one of the best generations that I think has come along in a long time because of the way you approach people. Now, in that factory and during those summers, I spent a lot of time with James. And he had always been very curious to me about my education, about college, about what I was doing. Pete, the supervisor, was in a wheelchair. He came over to me and proceeded to tell me about his motorcycle accident. And much to his surprise, when he was wheeled into the emergency room, still conscious, but knowing that things were bad, he saw James. James was one of the attending medical staff in the hospital at that time. I had spent the better part of 2 summers in that factory as his friend, talking to him all about my experiences and what college was like because he was so curious. He spent every day asking me questions. I not only told him about the opportunities that I made for myself, I paid my own tuition, and I worked to pay my own tuition. But I also had the opportunity to go abroad, spent the summer in Europe, played soccer in Europe. I must have talked incessantly about how transformational this was, and somewhere along the way, James must have decided to go back and finish his GED and give college a try. Pete, the supervisor, was humbled by the level of kindness and love shown to him in that dark moment in his life. Someone that he had treated with such disdain, treated so poorly with hate. While I'm not sure that this experience changed his conception of grace, I think it did change his understanding of how important it is to pay forward love that was shown to him. So I think the story speaks to you as graduates in a couple of ways. First, I want you to have confidence, not to shy away from taking a risk, not fear failure. One of my mantras in life is a famous ancient phrase, fortune favors the bold. Your life's course will not be determined by doing things that you are certain that you can do. Those are easy. It will be determined by whether you try things that are hard. One of the most memorable writers of your generation, J.K. Rowling of Harry Potter fame, told the graduating class at Harvard a couple years ago, "It's impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might well have not lived at all, in which case you fail by default." An even better way to say it that you can probably remember, if your uniform isn't dirty, you haven't been in the game. Don't be afraid as you go out into the world to get your uniform dirty, to take a risk and to fail. It will make you better. Classes which seem impossible on the first day, but you study hard enough to pass. The jobs you want, but you realize you're not really quite qualified for them yet, and then work like crazy getting the skills that you need. The moments when you feel alone, you ask for help, create a bond with someone because working together helps them as well as you. The times when you see things that nobody else sees, you fear speaking out, but you do so anyway and convince everyone else. Those are the moments where you can have a real impact. Don't let yourself off the hook by deciding that something is out of your reach. You'll never know what you're capable of unless you try it. if you believe in yourself and you're willing to ask for help, you really can do anything. Absolutely anything. The bottom line, dream big and work hard. The story also kind of illustrates the fact that you really should never underestimate what you say to someone. Even if it's a casual acquaintance that you only see and you know you're only going to see that person in passing. Your fellow travelers together for a little time in your life. Sometimes what you say or the actions that you have will have a lasting impression. Sometimes, as I alluded to, my discussions with James about college not only helped him to rethink his future, but it caused me to rethink mine. I realized I liked helping people. I like helping people learn. I like to help people work on their future. Yes, he's a big reason why I'm an educator, why I'm a superintendent. The story shows how interconnected we all are in the grand scheme of life. Emerson called it the oversoul. Hindus call it the world soul. The idea that fate, our creator, God, connects us in ways we don't realize. Sometimes these connections will never make sense to you. Sometimes 10 years down the pike, you'll realize that person came into my life for some reason. In the case of my connection with James, he impacted my career choice. I changed my major. Because I changed my major, much to my parents' delight, I stayed in college for 6 years. I had a great time. It was college. I highly recommend it for those of you that are headed that direction. I finished my degree in education, along with a degree in journalism and a degree in history. I met my wife the last semester of my senior year of college, or I should say my senior year. Without him in my life, I probably would have married someone else. I probably would have had a different career path. I certainly would have not met someone from Owensboro, Kentucky. And the thing is I haven't seen or heard from him since 1998, not even in the day of social media. He's not on Facebook, and you know what? I don't even remember his last name. But the point of all of this is to make the most of every little connection that you have. Treat everyone with kindness, respect, and love. Seek out those that you admire. And seek out those that can mentor you and that you can learn from. And be an advocate for someone else who needs you. These experiences will change your life in ways that you will not realize. A failure to respect this interconnectedness of all humanity together, well, I think John Lennon said it right. Instant karma will get you. Barack Obama, in his book, Dreams of My Father, alludes to this. You just never know who you touch, what kind of background they come from, who you interact. Every single person has the opportunity to grow up someday and lead in the world. My last point is about the importance of education, and I'm here today only because of the opportunities that education gave me in my life. Now, education, you may think as you graduate high school, I'm done with it. I've learned what I need to learn, and that's it. Well, it has probably less to do with knowledge and more to do with knowing yourself. It is so much about what you've learned, not so much about what you've learned at OHS. It's more about what you've learned about yourself and making it here. But it shouldn't end on May 23rd when you get your diploma. Your education is a job for a lifetime. And there's never been a better opportunity in the history of civilization for you to seek higher learning. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a college in the mainstream conception of a college. There are opportunities out there. It is all around us. Some of it costs money. A lot of it is absolutely free in the public domain. Seek out those experiences. Work hard. Ask for assistance. And know that what you set out to do, you can attain. My ancestors saw opportunities as immigrants entering the shores of this country at Ellis Island in New York City. I'm only a third-generation American. I've read their diaries of their difficult passage across the Atlantic. They had absolutely nothing but hope. Ellis Island was their hope. Your opportunities, your hope, your Ellis Island is really education. You just need to want to learn and be willing to work hard at it. So going back to that kindergartner, his parents signed him up for school. It must have been initially against his will, obviously, but sticking it out for the next 12 years is still no guarantee. To be a contributing member of society, you have to sign up to learn your lifetime. Now enjoy these days ahead. You've got 2 weeks until graduation, 3 weeks until graduation. Beware of sudden outbreaks of stupidity that occur in the last couple of weeks of high school. It is like a plague that runs around. I suffered from a really crazy, and I was a good student. I didn't get in trouble. But as the editor of the school newspaper, we got these most likely tos, and most of them were permissible to be printed. There were a few write-ins that my advisor in the journalism class said, no, you can't print that. Well, keep in mind that I'm in the age before the digital devils, where real-time information didn't exist. I had to actually take the newspaper that I had laid out, print it from a computer, which was a big deal in 1985. It was going to be distributed on graduation night. And all the seniors were going to see who was most likely in the edition of the newspaper, not all the press. Well, I put everything in there. Everything. Wasn't a smart move on my part. Needless to say that I spent the day of graduation, I graduated at night like you will, with a black marker, marking out every single thing that the sponsor told me that I wasn't supposed to put in. They will catch you. One of the great twists of fate that, and you talk about what comes around goes around, or instant karma, I have to be the censor now. I have to work in a school system that has to take care of dealing with the plague of stupidity that goes around. So enjoy it, but also be safe. Take care of yourself. And remember, as I sum up, education is a lifelong pursuit. All work is noble. Dream big, but work hard. Don't be afraid to fail. Love everything that you love, everyone you love, with all your might. Connect with your fellow humanity, and never underestimate the power of kindness. It comes back to you all the time. This is the beginning of many great things for you, and I wish you the very best of congratulations. You will always be part of the proud tradition, as Ms. Burnett said, 1871 of this high school. You're always welcome here as part of this family. I'm very proud of your accomplishments, and may God bless you.
That was just perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Brake. Okay, we mentioned already the most likely to's. Hopefully you filled those out on your table. If you didn't bring a pen or a pencil, somebody next to you did, so just borrow one and fill it out. We won't collect those until the very end today, so that's something you can work on as you're sitting there. I'd like to introduce our class officers. I've got them typed wrong on here. They've just worked as a group. It was hard to tell the president from the secretary from the vice president because we all just worked together this year. They're a great group of kids, and I'm asking them to come up now to help me with the rest of the senior breakfast. Our senior class president is Whitney Galloway. Our vice president is Zach Anderson. Our treasurer is Catherine Clark. And our secretary, Shiva Patel. And they were here bright and early this morning to help me with the senior breakfast, and they're a great group, and we've really enjoyed working together this year. Whitney and Catherine, could you just show them the time capsule? These two have put together our time capsule. We have one of these for every single class. I'd like to invite you to bring pictures or things that you would like to be remembered by to put in the time capsule. When these four start to organize any or all of your class reunions, the boxes, the time capsules are kept in the guidance office where they can come and get them, and they can post pictures of you and remember things that you would like to have brought up in the past. So that is for you to keep remembering things. Of course, there's something that's one of our favorite things today. We're going to talk about the Remember Wins. And our senior class officers have chosen two characters to deliver the Remember Wins because they're probably the best ones to do it. So I'd like to invite Trenton Cundiff and Will Van Winkle to come up for the Remember Wins. And I truly hope they just don't get me in trouble.
Remember when Megan Woodruff kicked Will and then punched him in the face?
Remember when Jonathan Phelps tried to do a backflip off a bench and landed right on his head?
Remember when Will Van Winkle threw up all up in the library? And then Miss Hunter yelled at him for spitting on the ground.
Remember when Skates Alive was cool?
Remember when Will Van Winkle and Sidney Smith won Valentine's Dance King and Queen? They're cousins.
Remember when Skylar Chilton threw a cheeseburger at lunch and it smacked Bailey Brown in the face?
Remember when Bailey Brown punched one of the Maletta twins at the lunch line?
Remember when Heath and Keeley dated?
There's more relationship ones, so some of y'all should be nervous. Remember when Doobie passed out puberty class?
Remember when Johnston Miller fought a girl and lost?
Caitlin Dillon. Remember when Dylan Schuler stuck a paperclip in the outlet?
Remember when Samantha Blackburn and Uter dated?
Remember the day full of fights our freshman year?
Remember Nick Boone's Hump Day celebrations?
What now?
Hump Day celebrations.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
let's
when-
do.
Remember when Mike and Muhammad tripped during the shuttle run twice?
Remember when Skylar Chilton talked to every guy in our class?
Remember when Quante got squeezed?
Remember Coach Johnson's shorts in middle school?
Remember every time Kayshawn Julian left for Alabama and came back, and then left again, and came back, and left again.
Remember when Neil Reinerson was a grade ahead of us?
Remember when Delaney Stovall fell down the stairs?
Remember when Hannah Brown cuddled with Hayden Sovar in the front office?
Remember when Alex Wooten wasn't large?
Remember when Zach Anderson, Chase Shacklett, Shivam Patel, and Cole Alsop got jumped at the tennis court?
Remember when Dylan Willoughby and Delaney Stovall dated?
Remember when Jamal Sweeney tried to fight Dylan Schuler?
Remember Miss Locke's shape-ups?
Remember when Dylan Willoughby trucked Catherine Clark during Foursquare after lunch at Ole Miss?
Remember when Hayden Sobar pecked Jonathan Pointer with a volleyball in the head across the middle school and knocked him out of the bleachers?
Remember when Sarah Flaherty passed out from hunger at Holiday World while waiting in line for food in the 8th grade?
Remember Sam Stickler pulling everything out of his pocket? Taco Bell hot sauce, pancakes, screwdrivers, etc.
Remember when Sam Stickler cussed out some girl for beating him at tetherball?
Remember when Tiana and Heath dated?
Remember when Darian Dole and Savannah Samuels dated?
Remember Francis and Manolo?
Or Darian and Amber?
Lee Taylor and Jamal?
Remember when Craig Lewis punched Chris Hagan in the mouth and Chris said he was a pacifist?
Remember when Jamal Smith stepped on Adam Whitehouse's arm and snapped it?
Remember when Delaney Stovall practiced her karate in the corner of the gym after lunch at Ole Miss?
Remember when Delaney Stovall got hit in the head with every single ball?
Remember when Miss Fulkerson put Liz on skates in the student faculty basketball game?
Remember when Chase Shacklett was bad?
Remember when Zach Anderson fought off an intruder with a skateboard?
Remember when Zach was a BMX pro?
Remember when Keeley Ham asked Coach Johnson if he was single?
Remember when rubber cement balls were cool?
when Stickler wore pajama pants to school and Miss Thurman wrote him up?
Remember when Coach Prince said the pledge right? Me either.